A good Shabbos to everybody. Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan Parshas Bamidbor. Some of us will be in Shul this Shabbos, but the majority will be home. Still at home, awaiting the return back to our Beis Mikdash Ma'ah, to our Shul, our beloved Shul. I wanted to share with you a story I heard from Rabbi Trank. There's a fellow he knows whose business it is what he calls making tapes. He collects speeches and tapes of various things, what we nowadays know as CDs, MP3s, and recordings. That's this guy's business. He collects from all different rabbis, all different famous personalities within the community, within the Jewish world, and he sells them. He also duplicates CDs, got the machinery. Family comes to him one day, two brothers, they say, listen, we're having a shloshim for our father. It's been almost 30 days since he passed away. Rabbi Obermeister, he was a Rabbi and a Rav in a small shul for a while. We were wondering if by any chance you have any recordings of any speeches for him. He says, yes, I do. I have several. And they listen to the speeches and say, this is amazing, this is great, we don't have anything like this. Can you make 60 copies so we can give out this CD by the shloshim to the family? Of course, this fellow, it's his business, that's what he does. He says, absolutely. I'll send you those copies. You'll be able to give them out. It's wonderful. This is going to be the price. Come back in 2 days, the day of the shloshim. I'll have it ready by 3 o'clock. Everything's fine. And this was a guy that ran his business to the T. He had something, everything was always perfect. Every detail he was on top of. Very careful, everything should always be perfect. Fine. They knew him, reputation was outstanding, they trust the fellow, they leave. Comes along, about a half hour later, he gets a phone call from a very large, well-known yeshiva, and they say, listen, I know it's last-minute notice, but we have this huge dinner coming up, and one of our Rabbi and one of the teachers came up with this really wonderful song. So we were thinking, could you take this song, make copies of it, we'll send you the recording, you'll make copies of it, put it on a CD, add on to that CD 2 lectures from our rabbis. This is an Israeli-based yeshiva making a dinner in America. And we'll be able to give it out at the dinner. He says, a little bit of time is a little bit of essence over here. Can you get me the materials today? No problem. They send him over the stuff, and he starts to process the order for 1,300 CDs. 2 days go by. Comes the day of the event. The family comes. He gives them their 60 copies, they pay him cash on the spot. A little bit after, the yeshiva director comes by, sends someone, they pick up their CDs, they go on. 10 o'clock that night, he gets a phone call. It's the uncle, one of the brothers, one of the Obermeister boys. Says, what'd you do to me? You messed this up. We put on the CDs, everyone comes, they come home, I'm listening to the CD that we gave out. You have some people singing a song, some speech in Hebrew. We gave you some speeches in Yiddish from our father you were supposed to copy. You gave us the wrong thing. Shocked. He never had such a thing before. He never messed up before. He's doing it for 30 years. He says, I'm terribly sorry. I can't believe it. I'll give you a full refund. I'll make new copies, and on my expense, I'll mail out the copies of the proper recording to the entire family. He sits down and he's thinking to himself, how could this happen to me? How could I mess up like that? And he starts to have a little worry, a little inkling, oh my gosh, I hope that's the whole story. And sure enough, the phone rings, it's the director of the yeshiva. He says, what'd you do? He's screaming at him. What'd you do? We have this dinner, all our biggest donors are there, 1,300 people. And you gave us a CD with some guy rambling in Yiddish? We're an Israeli yeshiva, we had a wonderful song, we had wonderful speeches. You have some speech in Yiddish, somebody, Rabbi Obermeister, it says, I don't know what's going on. How could you do this to me? And he starts trying to tell him, I'm sorry, on my expense, I'll fix it, what could I do? He's thinking, oh my gosh, this is not a big business, this is going to be a big loss. I got to do what I got to do. The man slams down the phone on him. He puts his head in his lap. What's going to be? Hashem, why'd you do this to me? Why'd you make me mess up like this? An hour later, 11 o'clock at night, the phone rings again. He picks up the phone. He sees the number, director of the yeshiva. He picks up, says, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'll make it up. I'll fix it. I'll do whatever I could on my expense. He says, no, hold on a second. Let me tell you what happened. I just got off the phone from another phone call. And I need to ask you, Mechila, forgiveness. I slammed down the phone on you, but I want to tell you what happened. I got off the phone. Somebody called me up. Our largest donor to the yeshiva, a very wealthy person. He called me up and he said, I can't believe it. I can't believe what you did tonight. That was so meaningful. That was so special. He says, you see, when I was in the 5th grade, my father passed away. And I was lost and I was alone. And I had a Rabbi. And that Rabbi came to the house every day throughout the Shiva. And he didn't stop there. He learned with me, took care of me. Not just that year, the next year. He got me into high school. He got me into the post-high school yeshiva. He got me into my marriage. He walked me down the aisle to my chuppah. He celebrated the birth of my first few children. And then I lost contact with him for 30 years. Never really saw him. I didn't know anything about him. And I got in my car. I put in the CD. And that was my Rabbi Obermeister. I didn't even know he had passed away. That's so special that you recognized how great of a person he is. And you gave out that CD at your dinner. I want you to know I'm underwriting the cost of the entire event. Send me the bill. I'm paying it with $100,000 on top of that. Because I owe this for Rabbi Obermeister. The director of the yeshiva tells him, you thought you made a mistake. I yelled at you. But we say Hashem has his own plans. Hashem had his own way of doing things. Because not only that, this individual said he wants to pay for the copies of the CDs to be made for the Obermeister family and pay for those CDs to be mailed out along with the ones that were supposed to have gone when they explained to him the story, the one with the song and with the speech from the yeshiva to go out. He's going to cover all of that, all in memory of Rabbi Obermeister. We're living in a times we have this corona, we have this virus. It chanced upon us, it popped upon us. No, it didn't. Hashem sent it to us. We don't know why, we don't know how, we don't know. We might not know in this world unless Mashiach comes. But he has a plan. He sent this thing that nobody expected, nobody could control. Every day the official, the experts change their minds, this, that, the next thing. We didn't daven in our shuls. We didn't go to our schools. Imagine in America without baseball, football, hockey, nothing. Professional sports was put on a standstill. I don't know which is worse, that or the economy. But we're reminded that Hashem has a plan. Clearly he did this, and clearly he has something up his sleeve. We opened this week Parshas Bamidbor, Sefer Bamidbor. This is referred to in the Talmud and other rabbinic literature as Chumash HaPikudim, the book of countings. For a similar reason, in non-Jewish sources it's known as the book of numbers. HaPikudim, counting, numbers. But we don't just count. We differentiate. We have different tribes. Most of the parsha this week, different tribes. They have to camp here, and they camp here, they camp here, they camp here, they camp here. They have different flags. They have different colors. The Kohen Gadol and his Choshen had a different color stone for each one. That was their branding, that tribe, that Shevet's color. It represented them. They lived with it. That was who they were. Each one had their own space. I don't know if it was 6 feet in between each tribe or what it was, but each one had their own space. We count them all separately, but then we count them all together as well. It's a strange thing. If we're counting to reach the total number, if we're an Am Echad that's unified, why are we counting separately with different things? What's this all about? Why is this the parsha that is almost always the week right before Shavuos, leading up to Shavuos? Ich bin a yokel. That's Yiddish. Ich bin a yokel. I'm a nobody. Ich bin a garnished. There was a study from some experts from Oxford University that revealed, or perhaps I would say confirmed, or most of us would guess, that the majority of problem makers, they use a different term, people who agitate and always looking to make trouble for others, troublemakers, agitators, adults and children, government they're not. They are people of extreme low self-esteem. Why? Because they feel like they're just a number. They're craving some attention, to stick out, to be seen, to be considered somebody special, somebody that made a difference. So foolishly, they make a difference. they seek to achieve that by being a thorn in your side. You notice the thorn when it scratches your arm as well. Every person has his space. Every person has his place. Has his potential for good and vice versa. Every person can wallow in their mistakes and blame others for their job that they ended up with, for their spouse, for their kids, for their education, their success, or their failures. Every person can look at themselves and say, yes, I'm somebody special. I'm somebody amazing. I'm somebody cherished. I'm different. I am my own unique person who I am. Every person is loved by their loved ones. And every person is loved by Hashem. Every person was put in this world by Hashem. When we recognize that we're a number, yes, 1 of a million, but we're a unique 1 of the million, with a unique color, a colorful one. We can wave our own flag confidently in our proper space in a unified chorus, all together, a different part of the choir, each one with their own role, each one with their own place where they go in the encampment, their own role, their own goal, in the way that Hashem made them. Shlomo Kabach was once asked, why do you record the same song on more than one record? There's a lot of songs that are like that. He says, records were those big old discs. He says, first of all, they're good songs. Why not? People like it. Second of all, if everyone else could steal my songs, why can't I steal my own songs? To recognize one's own value. The Sefer Imrei Shammai cites a cute story that I may have told in the past. There was a Jew who was an ignoramus, an Amaretz, Yankel the Amaretz. He approaches another Jew, a scholar, a smart man, a Talmid Chacham, a rabbi. He says, you think you're someone special, you should know what my yichus is. You know what my lineage is? You know who I come from? I come from a line of great people. Super. Royal blood. Fellow listens to me and says, that's fascinating. He was obviously quite jealous of the Torah scholar, of this Talmid Chacham. He had one thing going for himself, his great ancestors. And he bragged about it. Finally, the Talmid Chacham, the scholar, says to him, listen, I understand. The difference between you and me is that with your attitude, your yichus, your lineage is going to end with you. In my case, hopefully it will begin with me. Last year, I'm sure you all remember, we discussed that this week is the only week from all the weeks of the year that the same exact Haftorah is read by everybody. All Jews. Other weeks we have Ashkenazim, Sfardim, Chabad, Italian, Yemenite, Yekis, Israelis, all read different Haftorahs, stopping and starting at different places. Same topic, stop and start at different psukim. There's never a week where everyone does it exactly the same, except for this week. This Haftorah starts off, V'haya misper b'nei Yisrael k'chol hayam, asher lo yimayd v'lo yisaper. It starts off that the Bnei Yisrael, the Jews, were like the sand of the seashore. All different types, all different styles. K'chol hayam shel lo yisaper, couldn't be counted, it was so many. There was different types. Like nowadays, you have indoor minyanim and outdoor minyanim. No minyan at all. You have the never minyaners. You have the always minyaners. Different colors, different flags. But in spite of their differences, they join together when it comes to this Haftorah. Yes, Kichal Hayam, there are many different, but we all count. Each individual one in its own color, in its own style, in its own way, counts up to that total, to the total of Klal Yisrael. Because Hashem has a plan for the corona. We may not know exactly what it is. He has a reason he did it, and things that he wants us to learn from it, or something he had to change in the world. He had his hand in it blatantly. A tiny virus imploded the whole world, turning over the economy, socially, spiritually, even logical elements of life are upside down. People lost their lives, my wife's dear grandparents included. Why? He knows. Hashem knows. Why am I me, and you, and she, and he? Made in different ways, different colors, different styles. He, Hashem, has a plan. And he has a space on earth for each and every one of us. That recognition precedes Shavuos. This parasha brings us to Shavuos and introduces us to Shavuos. Because this is the time when we united, Kineged Ahar, by Shavuos, we gathered together to accept the Torah. To unite together and say, yes, we have all different roles, all different goals, different personalities, different styles. But if we bind around trying to follow, spending our lives figuring out what Hashem wants from us, then we can recognize the importance of each and every one of us individually. And we can minimize the jealousy and the hypocrisy that could exist in the world when we're not so cognizant of that. Together on Har Sinai, because it's the Torah and mitzvahs that makes us one nation. As I don't know if you can see, I'll move in as this sign over here says, I know I'm somebody, because God don't make no junk. Have a wonderful Shabbos. We miss you all. We hope to be back together in the Shul, everyone soon.